Got this chainsaw here for free. I've never actually owned a gas chainsaw, so I'm gonna try to get it working. First thing I noticed when I tried to pull it is whatever mechanism rewinds the pull cord is stuck. So I figure what I can try to do is just disconnect the throttle cables and the power head from the shaft, so I can have a smaller thing to work on, and then I can start tearing into figuring out why that won't wind, and then do I get spark, will it light off on starting fluid, is the carburetor gummed up, so on and so forth. So come with me on this. Like I said, never done one of these before. I'm going to start by undoing these bolts. Okay, those bolts are out. Alright, looks easy enough. That shaft's coming straight out. Need to get a wrench to try to loosen up the throttle cable assembly here so that I can get it off of the carburetor. Okay, pop the throttle off. I had it popped off, there it goes. Disconnected this ground or whatever that is and this electrical cable here, so that's just 3 connections. Now I just got the power head here. Oh, just noticed, looks like these hoses are cut. Well, one's off and this one's cut. So these will probably need all new hoses. It's okay. Let's see if we can, I guess, undo these 4 here, and maybe I can get at the winder. Those 4 bolts taken out, the pull, not sure if that's supposed to wind back. It's really rusty. It's got compression. That's good. So maybe take this apart and see if there's supposed to be a spring in here to rewind it. Not sure. Well, that spring looks toast. It's all broken, rusted. So I gotta figure something out with this spring. Alright, so before I spend any money on any parts, I just want to see if this thing's got spark and if it will even run at all. It looks like when you pull that pull start, this grabs it and turns clockwise. So I'm thinking if I just put a drill on this, I should be able to get it to spark and at least know. So I'm going to take the spark plug out, throw some lubricant in the cylinder, and then see if we can get this thing to spark. Right. Let's see. No spark. Oh. Great. Well, it's got spark. So I can just slam that thing, slam it back in there, open up the yap, and squirt something like brake fluid in there, brake cleaner, and see if it'll at least pop off. If it's got compression, it should. It's a 2-stroke, so I just want to do it, carefully, because there'll be no lubricant in there, but enough to pop off. That probably good enough. Let's try it. Get the phone resting over here. see, can you see it? That should work. So I got the spark plug back in there. I'm actually gonna try to take this, put this thing wide open. Maybe I can jam something in here. There you go. All right, so I think that's wide open, jammed in there, just so you can see. I think back's all the way, so I'm just gonna go wide open, jam the screwdriver under there. Gonna give it a turn and throw some brake clean down it and see if she'll at least pop. Gonna have to tear into that a little bit more. Pulled this cap off. Okay, that's not a cap, that is the whole carburetor. I mean, that'll work. Try to get the, okay, cool. Just set that right over there. And then that is the piston, so if I can get this thing spinning and sparking enough while we shoot some brake clean in there, it should pop off. Let's try it. All right, let's try this again. When I say, okay?
Didn't work?
No. Not even
Flicker.
a whiff.
Are you supposed to mix those?
No, but
I don't need to spray it anymore.
You pull this spark plug out and see if I still got spark.
But you did earlier, right?
It's something metal.
Careful, Aaron.
What? Oh yeah, this is that spark. She's got spark.
It's already all in there. Ed, do you want a continuous spray or just
No, just
like I was doing?
Yep. Ready?
Hang on. Okay.
Oh,
I think it was about to start.
you think it was going?
Yeah. You want to keep?
Let me throw some more lubricant in here.
What is going to happen when it turns on? I don't know if you should be mixed or...
That's fine.
Do you want me to keep spraying or no?
Yep, good. Ready? Yeah, I think it's taken off. All right, well that's good enough. I mean, that means that it's combusting. So now it's just a matter of getting that carburetor to get fuel in there, and hopefully we didn't damage it in our test. Hopefully the PV blaster kept it lubed up enough. Only the top left hole is open with this gasket. That is the one that's a little wet, so good enough. else do we got here? Something China. I guess I'll start by taking maybe the bulb out of the top here. There's 2 screws. So let me do that. 2 screws are out. Let's pull this off. Oop. That scared me. All right. So there's a gasket there. It went on like that. I wonder, will this... Okay, this plate will come off. The bulb just come out. I really wish this plate wouldn't do that. I'm gonna try to work that out with both hands. Cut the bulb off. And try to gingerly take this gasket off. I need both hands to try to get that off. Got the phone perched here. I'm almost afraid to take that off because looks like it's got one underneath it. I don't want to mess it up. So maybe I'll leave that like this for now. Put that off to the side. Let's see what we got here. Okay, interesting. So what I thought was wide open before, maybe that's choke, because it leaves just a little hole open there. Okay. Noticing down below, there's this plate. These hoses are all hard and shot. I'm gonna take this bottom plate off, see what's under it. If it's not clear, I've never taken a carburetor apart before, so. This is my first time. What is that? No idea. This is all strange to me. What's that, 8.5 in there? must be where the fuel comes in. I don't know. Probably sound like an idiot. Well, all right. I mean, I'm just gonna go dip this in some, probably try Purple Power, a small cup of it, just let it sit there for a while. And then I'll come around with some brake cleaner, because that's all that I got, and try to lightly blow through all the orifices and stuff. I'm gonna wipe this down first and try to get the heavy gunk off. So I'll be right back. Okay, well, it's gonna lay down. So see if that does anything. Since this one came off, let's see if I can pop this one off. Carefully. All right. Looks like maybe some old fuel. I'm gonna stick this in the Purple Power as well. And I'll stick this in this. The gaskets I'm gonna leave out because I'm not sure. Maybe I'll just dunk them real quick. How Purple Power will react with them. Just give them a dunk, I guess, and maybe I'll squirt them off real quick with some brake clean. Well, all right, we'll let all this sit in here and see what happens. Come back in a couple hours. So this is the carburetor parts out of Chem Dip. After I took it out of Chem Dip, I took some brake cleaner to them, and they look clean. I went through all of these ports and blew some brake clean through. So put some seafoam on these little seals and gaskets. I'm sure somehow they're related to fuel delivery or fuel pump. Not sure, but so I'm just going to reassemble this. Let's see, I think the bottom started first. And I think it looked like that. I'm going to go back and check my footage. Let's see here. I did have it right, how I was going to do it. And then this. Let's see. All right, so it looks like this top plate with the primer goes on like so. I'm gonna go ahead and screw these back in. Actually, before I do, I need to put the primer bulb back on. Okay, good. And then, which way does this go? That looks like it. Which is interesting because now it's like that. All right. Guess to know for sure is put some fuel in here and see if it'll suck it in. I'm not sure if it sucks in from this one or that one though. Let's try a test. I'm going to put a little brake clean in this line, push the bulb, and see if it's pushing out that way. If it's pushing out that way, I guess it's going to be sucking in on the bottom one. Maybe. Can you see this?
Mm-hmm.
So I had a problem where when I assembled it, I was just testing out the primer bulb here, and it wouldn't really compress. So I took it off and tried blowing compressed air through this hole here, and it wouldn't go through. So that's clearly a check valve of some kind, and it makes sense because, you know, as you draw fuel up into the priming area, when it's full, if you continue to suck fuel up, it needs a return path to the fuel tank. So this must be the return. I went online and saw some guys putting heat on here, and then black stuff was coming out. And I thought, well, surely if this is supposed to be a check valve, that's delicate enough to be melted if you put heat on it. So instead, I came back to the chem dip, filled up the primer bulb with some chem dip, and just gently started to press it, and nothing was coming out for, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or so. But now, after sitting all night, it's freed up. So if you can see how the bulb's empty. If I depress it and go under, it will suck up from the bottom of this plate, begin to fill it, and then I can push it out through that hole. So I'll leave it back in here until lunchtime just for good measure. But the point is that's a way that if your check valve there is stopped up, you can use the primer bulb full of a cleaner of your choice to, you know, gently work through it and clear it, because now mine's actually cleared. I didn't show popping the carburetor back on, but I think I have it in the right orientation there. And I undid this metal flap from one side, which is where the air cleaner filter actually mounts. So I'll leave that off for now, because then with it off, I can see directly into the carburetor, and I can just choke it easier from here. And if I have to try some starting fluid again to help that first start, it'll just be easier for me to troubleshoot. Next thing is these fuel lines obviously are not working anymore. This one might. So I'm going to take this just to start it. I might be able to use this one. Yeah, you can try that. But anyway, I want to get this tank off, and it looks like a screw there and over here to take it off. Well, these bolts or the screws wouldn't really come out. I soaked them, so we'll see if they come out later. But looking down in it, that pickup tube is the short cracked one, and this clear one is the return line. So for testing, I think I'm just going to pull that return line out and put it into the bottom, which is the feed, and then try to get it fed from like a little bottle or something, just to see if it'll start up. If it'll start up and run, then I'll put new hoses in it, but I wanted to try to avoid spending any money. All right then, I have a little bit of fuel in this cap here. I actually took the the longer hose out of it, the one that was on the end of, or the one that had the fuel filter on the end, and put it into the feed line and put into this cap. So unfortunately my primer bulb, I noticed, had cracked in all my testing so far. So we're gonna first see if this thing will even prime up and pull from this little cap. Let's give it a go. No, I'm not seeing any come up, but I mean, I'm gonna take a piece of tape and see if I can't get this to survive just a little bit longer. All right, with my tape, I actually was able to pull some fuel up. I can see it coming out the return a little bit. Couple dribbles, so, and the fluid level went down, so I don't know. Let's see if it's enough to start it up. Not sure where I can put the camera. Oh, it started to pop. I don't know if you could hear it. There it goes. Wow, how about that? It ran. Well, I think that's enough. I had it choked. Let's see if it'll start again. Well, I think I need to get a better fuel system, but hey, it ran. Fantastic. Got a new primer bulb and some extra fuel line in a kit. Came with a couple different sizes and fuel filters to put on the end of the tubing anyway. So I have some premix here in a little measuring cup. I'm gonna try to prime it full and see if it'll run. All right, should be getting gas now. There it comes. Try to get all that air out of this carb. There we go. I think that'll work. Oops. I gotta use two hands again. Yeah, I can do that. All right, well, it's not moving any more fuel, so I think we're good. Let's see if it'll start. finish up the rest of this. Gonna get the fuel filter put on the end of this tube, get it back in the fuel tank, then we'll actually put some fuel in the fuel tank and see if it runs again there. But I think it's a runner. See if this thing will fire up again. When it starts, it kicks this thing off, which is interesting. I need two hands again. Check to see if this kills it. Nope. Seems to only want to really run with choke. Huh. Well, let's put this thing back together and see how it runs as one whole unit. Got the shaft reconnected, so let's see if it can idle and spin that end there. Still doesn't like to run without choking it, but it spins, so cool. I'm going to reconnect the kill switch, throttle cable, and do some more testing there. All right, so check this out. I figured something else out. So on the return valve, or the return pipe for the fuel that comes out of the top, the bulb here, right? So as you prime it and there's excess fluid in here, it comes out. And this was that same port that was jammed up that I was, gently working back and forth in the carburetor cleaner. And I got it freed up. That was blocked. But now I put more gas in it to test, you can see that that line's full of fuel. When I start to prime it, watch the air bubbles. They have a tendency to want to come back up. It is pumping, but it's trying to suck in, I think. So I think that one-way valve isn't really working, because now the fuel filter is buried in fuel, but when I try to prime it, I can't get any to stick, you know? So I think instead of pulling, it's trying to pull air up in both directions. So what I'm gonna do is put the cap back on so that that return line is now under the top of the fuel level. And I'm gonna prime it. See it? I'm actually able to, well, I was able to. It's changing now. Yeah, it's not working right. So I need a new one of these bodies because I can't replace that little check valve in there, and the whole carburetor kit's like $20. So I gotta think, do I want to spend the money on it, or do I want to spend, just sell it that it runs and needs carburetor work? So it's idling, well, make a liar out of me. Choke it. Alright, start it on choke. Take the choke off now. And it's actually able to run, whereas before it would not. But as soon as you try to throttle, it starts bogging down. And I think it's because it's having a conflict. Oh, I did get the stop to work. It's having a conflict with the way that the fuel's going through the carburetor. I mean, it has to be. So, yeah, I'm gonna think what to do. Well, this went all crazy town on me. Got all snarled up. And then this happened, so yeah, full start. We're just gonna throw that over there and go back to the Old Faithful. And I had a theory. In the video I saw when this thing was running full throttle, it looked like it was sucking fuel up through this return, so I crimped it off. And I'm going to see if it idles and runs any better with that side crimped, which would mean it could only pull fuel in from the correct side. Of course, this meant I had to prime it and then crimp it, but let's just see. Choke it. Choke off. Oops. that going again. Might have it dialed in, so let's try a start just from the beginning now. Might not even need to choke it after that. Let's try starting it without the choke. No, it wants the choke. Let's choke it. Oh. It'd be helpful if I turned it back to run. Let's try it without choke. Okay, start right up. Now with that crimp and the mix settings messed around with, let's see if it runs. Well, I say that's pretty good. That's the best it's run so far. And that was me just crimping this return line and messing with these mixture screws as the throttle was coming up to get to a point where it wouldn't bog down. But now if I undo this and try to start it again, let's see what happens. Let's see if it runs differently at wide open. Try to start it again without choke. Nope, need to put it back in run. Doesn't really like it. Let's give it choke. It's in run, right? I don't know if you can see it. I can see bubbles coming up. Oh, look at that. Oh, I thought I could catch it in the act. I saw bubbles coming up through that bottom port. Let's try it again. Look at that. So let's keep trying to start it, but I think all of this combined has confirmed that this check valve is I can't speak, messing up the flow Look at that. See it? It's pushing. Well, that pushing is normal, but I can't even get it to start now. I got it to start by giving it throttle. And now it stalls out. There you go, give it a little rattle can spit shine on the front. Throw the air cleaner back in it and see if I can get a few bucks for this. I'm in it probably a couple bucks for the plunger bulb. I did waste $8 trying to get this pull start to work. And I think that's it. That's all the parts. Yeah, it's just the primer bulb. Oh, and the fuel lines. So I don't know, less than $10 to get it back up and running.